Hello, my name's Helen. I'm editor of Family Tree, and today I'm going to be talking to David Scrimgeour, who's the author of Proper People, about his forthcoming talk at the Secret Lives conference. Now, he's going to be talking on early asylum life in the words of those who were there. Now, obviously, we don't normally imagine asylum patients having a voice of their own. They're very kind of passive people. They've been incarcerated. But David's been exploring the records and he has a completely different take on it. So how on earth did you first get into this extraordinary topic?
Well, the short answer is homework.
Yeah.
I'd actually been set a piece of work as part of a course I was doing with the University of Strathclyde. And they asked me to research and write about the original sources available for a building. So that if somebody was wanting to find out who lived there or whatever, then that's what they would have to do. And as I used to drive past what used to be called Stanley Royd Hospital in Wakefield, I used to drive past that fairly regularly, I thought that would be a good one.
Yeah.
And that's when I discovered that in addition to the usual sources that we all recognise, like the census, albeit that they're not very helpful for about 50 years, where every patient in Stanley Royd was in there as just their initials.
Yeah.
But I did discover that in Wakefield, the West Yorkshire Archive Service have got a practically complete set of case notes, patients' case notes, going back to the opening of what at the time was called the West Riding Pauper Lunatic Asylum back in 1818. And I turned a couple of pages and that's it. I was hooked.
So what sort of thing were you discovering? What was it that got you hooked? Were you finding out about people's, obviously their mental health, or finding out about their wider family context? What sort of thing were you learning?
Both of those things. Very much telling you about the family background, because of course there was a lot of emphasis placed on hereditary causes of illness. But the thing that was really hooked me was that the case notes are actually a commentary on social history. They're talking about what life was like for these people, both before they were actually they came into the asylum and during their time in the asylum. And there are even the odd comments from people who've been patients have left the asylum. And it's just fascinating. The material that you can find in those case notes is just extraordinary.
So it sounds as though rather than just like a census which you have a few dry facts, you're actually getting a feel, you're getting the viewpoints, I guess, of the people who were looking after the patients at the time, the viewpoints of the patients themselves, because there must be comments on how they regarded being incarcerated, or their behaviour, I guess, is indicating how they're feeling. So you're getting a really insightful look at the people of the past.
The majority of what you read is actually third-party views, but you will. So we're talking about physicians, the poor law officials, the press, because some of these cases actually feature in the local newspapers.
Would that, if it was to do with a crime, like if they murdered somebody, or
almost certainly if it was to do with a crime, but not necessarily so. Not necessarily so. But you'll also find in the case notes letters from relatives, and every so often you'll find a nugget, which is a letter from the patient themselves.
Yeah.
Now, the sad thing is, if the letter exists in the case notes, the letter didn't go to who it was intended to go to.
Oh, yeah.
But it allows you to reflect on how they were thinking, what they were thinking about, and what they had to say. And
even see their level of literacy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah. So what would you recommend to somebody? Let's say they had a kind of family folklore that they had somebody with a mental illness in the past. How would you suggest the best ways are to go and research that aspect of their family history?
Well, first thing is celebrate the fact that you've got an ancestor who was in a lunatic asylum, because if you're lucky enough for the records to have survived, and they haven't all, then you are looking at a cornucopia of material that you just wouldn't expect to find anywhere else. Certainly not in a census or a death certificate, birth certificate, whatever. It's just a fantastic treasure trove of material. That's the first thing. What I'd also say is it's not simply it's very easy for us family historians, if we know that somebody has died in an institution, they were in there. But have you got somebody missing?
Yeah.
That you don't know what happened to them in the family tree.
Yeah.
Could they possibly have been in an asylum? The answer is yes, they could possibly have been. So go check out Ancestry. Look at their records for, 1846 onwards, the Commissioners and Lunacy records. See if you can find anybody in there. It's worth looking, even if it's not somebody that you know for sure was in there.
And especially as they're quite likely to have, maybe the story of them has been passed down in hushed whispers, so it's not going to be a widely celebrated family story.
Yes, I think that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
We know today that there are still... We don't talk about it the way we should be.
Yeah.
I would like to think that just by telling folk about the great material that's in the records, we can sort of take the stigma away from mental health.
Yeah.
And we should be proud of the fact that our ancestors, real people, were in an asylum. It's an illness. It's not a curse.
And definitely, I think as family historians, you do become more compassionate because you just realise it's people living their lives and stuff happens. And
well said.
Yeah,
I agree.
And so, what are you most looking forward to from the conference? Because it's going to be a very unusual, exciting conference covering lots of different aspects of family history.
It's quite amazing the scope of the agenda, and the topics that people are going to be talking about are things that. It's just stretching the boundaries, and that appeals to me because I do like to hear about detective work and digging and exploring areas that aren't, shall we say, routine and run-of-the-mill. And I'm really looking forward to meeting folk and having a chance to talk about all that sort of stuff. I am looking forward to it. September can't get here fast enough.
That's good. That's David Scrimgeour.